What's up, guys? It's me, TSPRavshiva. You know, I'm doing Genosis, my new podcast about contemplation, about thinking about things that happen in life, everything. I'm talking about from our lives, the trials, tribulations, from the strangest things that happen in your life. I'm talking about ghosts, aliens, whatever. You know, we're talking about all of it, especially spirituality, because, you know, I'm the spiritual philanthropist. But I got a guest here who's a really good guy, and his life has been, to me, a very big inspiration. When I met him, you know, it was an interesting time. I'm going to let you tell the story, Chris, so you kind of introduce yourself, and I think you could tell your story better than I could. And by the way, you look great, bro. I'm glad to see you.
Thanks, man. Good to see you, dude. Been a long time.
Man.
Hey, everybody. So my name's Chris. Let's see where to start. I mean, it's a long one. So when Ravi and I met and connected, I was at a program house for veterans with substance abuse, legal issues, that kind of thing. And it's really one of the happier memories of my life because I got to get myself back. So I got to hit reset on life at 34. Went out there, was doing some wild stuff after a car accident in 2009. Got hooked on opiates. It's a story I'm sure everybody's heard before. And it just went south from there, culminating in my arrest in 2016, which is, it's coming up on 9 years opiate-free next week. So
congratulations.
Timing of this couldn't even been more perfect. And Ravi was one of the key figures in that house that helped get me.
Thanks, bro. Thanks a lot, man. That means a lot to me, man. It really does, because I thought, you know what really stuck out to me with you was your nose. No, I'm just kidding.
Rubbing all over my face.
No, your sense of humor, bro, was the best. I mean, you're like me in some ways. I recognize that right away. You're going through the hardest of times, but you didn't really show it. You kind of made everyone feel good around you. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You either sit there and suffer in your own head or find the positive. You know what I mean? There's a positive in everything, right? If I wasn't in that house, I would have been in the street somewhere, would have been locked up somewhere. I had to be there at that specific moment in time, and I was gonna run with it. I was gonna do my best with it.
Yeah, I do remember those times. I remember some of the things that we spoke about, and that place has some interesting memories as well. You know, a lot of the guys that were there, you know, I heard not all of them are here today, you know, and, you know, God bless each and every one of them, you know, because they did serve the country as well. And there were very, very good people I met in there, you know. So, you know, your story is interesting to me because, first of all, you had an angel come into your life, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You want to talk about, like, that transition, like what that brought to you, what that did?
So it's such a wild story. I met my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. When she had no idea of all the shenanigans I was up to. No idea about the drugs and none of that stuff. I wanted the life I perceived. Mm-hmm. I wanted people to perceive I had, and then the actual life I was living. You know, and they were not interchangeable in any way. So she had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
I got in trouble. We wound up taking some time apart from each other. And that was one of the main driving forces for me to you know, get my shit together and start moving forward and start being a grown-up. And life is good, dude. Life is so good. She's the most empathetic person I've ever been around. She makes me better. She makes everybody around her better and more genuine.
Yeah, that's look, let me tell you, that couldn't have happened to a better guy, you know, and I'm so happy for you, you know, I'm glad to hear good news. I'm glad that we were able to communicate again and to see you in this position now, and it's a blessing. We know that, you know, I know that last time we spoke, you told me that, was it her that introduced you to yoga, or did you already start practicing on your own? Like, how did that work?
She introduced me to it for sure, because, you know me, dude, I love lifting. I love lifting heavy and doing all that stuff, but I'm not a kid anymore, and I need the mobility. So, like, that's where that comes in. She comes in. She's like, this is what we're doing today. Let's get this done, and then you can go throw your weights around.
Wow. And do you want to speak a little bit about, like, what that experience was like for you? Like, you know, like, how you started, what you did, what you got out of that? Did it open your mind in any way?
It helped me to, I'm a little scatterbrained, right? I'm always thinking of a million different things at once. And yoga is one thing where when I'm doing that, that's all I'm doing. And I'm very inside myself, and it's the only thing I'm concentrating on. Could feel myself breathing, could literally feel just little shifts and little moments in time there where I'm just me, and that's it. And there's no outside noise, which is really, really nice.
You know, I have to say your demeanor is, I mean, I loved your demeanor back then, but you're right, you're just so much more relaxed and not so high strung. Like, I see that. It's visible, you know, even in the way you speak, you know, it's just, and I can't say this enough that I'm so proud and so happy that you are here and you're doing everything, and you know, God's blessed you. You know, you've had somebody so good come into your life, and these little things in life that people so much take for granted. I feel, even myself at one point in time, you know, and to see you thriving like this makes me very happy, bro. Because this is what we all want in life. You know?
I mean, my wife and I talk about it all the time. How lucky I am, and don't get me wrong, it was a lot of work to be here. A lot of like working through the darkness and figuring out why, you know, some of the things I was doing, and that kind of thing. And now the biggest joy I get is sitting in the backyard and listening to the birds. You know what I mean? Sitting in the backyard.
Amen. Yeah.
I turned into a Disney princess moving down here. Feeding squirrels, like, and you know, it's great. It's a great life, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so happy. Like I said, this is great. This is totally great. You know, I wanted to know what your views were on spirituality. That's curiosity for me, because since you've come such a long way, you know, and also like you've seen so much and experienced so much on an internal level, you know, and you know, that's what I want to know about. Like, what's your outlook on that? You know, what's your views on that?
So with that kind of thing, you know, I'm not a believer in any specific type of religion or deity or anything like that, right? But for me, there has to be something, because if there wasn't something next or something positive, there would be no, people would just be suffering to suffer. You know what I mean? And I can't imagine any kind of universe where that's okay. There's got to be balance somewhere. You know?
Right.
There's got to be. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be something.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I've contemplated this a lot, and even got a question on it, because I kind of like, you know, if, you know, on social media, if you pose a view or make a comment on something, it can be a speculative comment. It doesn't have to be like an opinion.
Yeah.
And if somebody has an opinion, they want to fight you tooth and nail on it. You know, it's even if you ask
about the smallest things. Yeah. How you like oranges better than you like apples. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Exactly.
People are always out there looking for some kind of confrontation for whatever reason, and it's just that's just not my style, man.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way on that. I try to stay far away from the you know, the duality fighting. You know, that's what I call it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's either this or that, and I'm like, no, there's a lot of other places besides this or that.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. There's this and that, and there's everything in the middle.
Exactly. And that's a cool perspective. I like that. I think this is great, man. You remind me of myself in this. Like I said, a sense of humor is something, because I was the first South Asian comedian in America in 1990, before all the other Indian guys that came out. In 1990, I was the first one to get up on stage, and So I always said that having a sense of humor kept me from doing bad things. You know what I mean? Like, really, like, messing up. Because if I wasn't able to turn somebody saying, "Hey, Dothead," into something funny, you know what I mean, or something, you know what I mean? Like, I would be in real trouble all the time.
Yeah, dude, I mean, it's a way to de-escalate a situation. You know what I mean? You don't like confrontation, but you're also not going to shy away from it.
No, never.
If it gets to that point.
Yeah.
So there's no. I mean, it's saved me a bunch of times too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No. And that's what people don't realize what a resilient mind it takes to actually be able to pull yourself out of something thick, you know, something that's dense, you know, and be able to make it light, you know, just by saying a word or saying something funny. You know,
you could change the whole moment there. You could change the whole moment. You could change everybody's outlook there. And turn a real nasty moment into something that has some kind of peace in it. Yeah,
and that's the beauty of it, bro. And you know, I'm so glad that your wife introduced you to yoga, because I know that you'll learn I always feel like some people miss out. You know, it's good to pray. Don't get me wrong. I pray all the time, and I do talk to God a lot. But I'll tell you that the deepest moments I've had were sitting in meditation. You know. Like sitting in pure silence, not sitting with a crowd of people, just sitting in pure silence and just really deep breathing and just feeling your heartbeat, feeling your breath. Those things really made me in tune with myself and more understanding. How about you? What did you ever do any of that?
Yeah, so I start every day with a little gratefulness routine that I do because, bro, I mean, by all rights, I shouldn't even be here. You know what I mean? I shouldn't even be here. And I got this big, beautiful house, this big, beautiful life.
Wow.
So I start every day, and I'm like, and I just sit there and I do my breathing and I do a little stretching and I go over everything I'm thankful for every day, every single day. And it's really set a good tone for the rest of the day. Whether it's a 12-hour day, a 14-hour day, it doesn't matter. You start with something positive, and that's going to bleed on throughout the day.
Wow. I really, really, really love that. You know, and I think that your message, I think because of what you've been through, and there are people there, because we know, I was in the field of addiction counseling, and the amount of people don't realize that people that go through that they think it's just a bunch of crackhead, homeless people, this and that. It's how they usually refer, right?
Yep.
Judges, lawyers, actors, doctors, all come through there. Everybody you can think of came through there.
100%. And I mean, I was locked up with doctors. I was locked up with anybody you can imagine because this epidemic, because that's exactly what it is. It's not gonna be like, oh, you're a doctor, we'll leave you alone. Oh, you're a lawyer, we're gonna leave you alone. It's open to everybody. To everybody.
That's right. That's right. Everybody's susceptible, man. And it's funny, like the more I got into meditation, I don't know how you feel about this. I'd love to hear your perspective, but like little things that I didn't notice before, and I think the more I realize that our thoughts are addictive. Your thoughts can create a dopamine effect as well, right?
Yep.
It could be anything. It could be whatever makes you happy to the highest extreme, and then you want to go after that happiness constantly, regardless of the circumstances and who gets in the way. You know what I mean? And that's a hard one.
Yeah, because people don't know how to rewire themselves.
Right.
And that's why, and that probably goes right with the addiction thing because they don't, then you're looking for an easy escape, whether it's booze or drugs or whatever,
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It kind of like all walks hand in hand together. Yeah. And like I noticed the one thing that a lot of people, including myself when I was younger, in my 20s and stuff, and maybe even my 30s actually, is that one thing would kind of exacerbate the other. It would kind of be a chain reaction. And it all was and this is why I love yoga so much. In the idea, it doesn't take away from anything religion. This is not religion. This is talking about the pure science of yoga. It is about the thoughts, right? So I realized that if you could really strategically prevent your thoughts from controlling you, you really have mastered yourself at that point. And that's what it really is.
That's when you're free. That's when you're free. When you don't have that little voice in the back of your head saying, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this. That's the only time you're free. When you could disconnect yourself from those thoughts that are ruining everything.
Yeah. And coming from a guy that's gone through so much, man, it's like you're like a veteran in more than one way. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through a lot, and I'm smiling on the other side. And whatever next hurdle comes my way, I'm going to smile right through that too. Because what am I going to do? Am I going to lay down? No.
Yeah. Wow, it's so amazing to, like I said, because I've known you personally.
Yeah.
So to be able to see and hear you like this is almost like, it's not say completely different person, but almost feels like that. You know what I
mean? I evolved. You know what I mean? Like I evolved. It's been a really, really fun ride, dude. And not to say there haven't been bad days in there.
Yeah.
The bad days really, really help you appreciate the good ones.
Yeah. No. Of course, man. This is time is such a funny thing when you think about it. Because what was it? How long ago was that? That was back in what?
2017.
2017, right?
Yeah.
And look how many years later. And within that period of time, so many things happened. We had COVID. We had all these huge things. That, by the way, what happened? If you don't mind me asking, how did COVID affect you? Where were you when those things?
We were living. My wife and I were in an apartment in Astoria,
Queens, all right.
Long Island City.
Long Island City, yeah.
Yeah. And little tiny 540 square foot. It was her and I, 2 dogs, 4 cats at one point. And I was doing personal training for Blink Fitness in Manhattan. They had like 23 or 27 gyms at the time. And when COVID happened, everything shut down, right? So most of the company was furloughed, except for me and a select few other trainers. I was the top trainer in Manhattan for that gym.
Really? Yeah.
So they kept us. They kept a couple of us on for like social media stuff and video workouts and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it was wild, man. That was another trip where you're like, all of a sudden, I'm out of the house 16 hours a day, getting up at 3:30. My first client's at 4:45 in Manhattan, and then not getting home till like 10 o'clock every day was brutal. But it was even harder being at home with nothing to do for a little while.
Exactly. I think it drove a lot of people crazy. Because people weren't used to being that, right? It's that lack of social interaction. I think that was affecting, including myself. But I think because I'm alone a lot normally, that's just me. But I think a lot of other people that aren't used to being alone. I think there were a lot of people suffering bad because they didn't know how to cope.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people that I see it if they came out well. I see that as a good thing because you don't want to have to rely on other people for your own joy and your own happiness.
Of course.
So hopefully that kind of rang a bell for those types of people. Like, hey, I gotta find what's within me to make myself happy.
Yeah, and that's actually also a very I want to say use the word yogic without putting any other connotation onto it. Religious or anything like that. But it's a very yogic principle. To find happiness within. They say, well, if you can be by yourself in a cave and live there. And be happy. You'll be happy anywhere you go, because that happiness comes from inside, not outside.
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's beautiful. When you think about it. I have something that I call synchronicity. Have you heard the term?
Yeah.
So you understand what that means, right?
No, I could use a refresher here. I know of the term. Yeah.
Yeah, you know of the term, so because you've probably been around it with your wife. I'm sure she's probably mentioned a few times. And probably with other things that you've done. And so synchronicity, in my definition, in my understanding, what it is that sometimes in life, certain things happen, and they happen in such a way that the timing and everything is just right. There's nothing that you could have done to prevent whatever it is from happening. Like everything just turns out really good, at that moment in time. There's also different types of synchronicities, like sometimes where you think of someone and you haven't heard from them in years, and all of a sudden, boom, you get a phone call at that moment. You have any of that stuff happen to you?
Yeah, actually. Talking about, I was going over right before we connected about doing this thing. I was searching everybody from the house because I just brought my Facebook back after 5 years being deactivated.
Yeah, okay.
Wanted to talk to a bunch of old military friends and to reconnect with people like you. You've been talking to Jesse Murphy a little bit.
How's he doing?
He's doing great, man. He's like you. He's a real genuine, like down to earth guy.
That's awesome. I remember.
Right before you and I connected again, I was going through the list of names that I remember at the house and checking up on people and seeing how people were doing. Yeah. Unfortunately, like you mentioned in the beginning, a couple of them are no longer here. Right. So hopefully they found their peace. Right. But yeah. And then the very next day you hit me up and you're like, yo, what's up, buddy? And it was like, all right. I remember distinctly talking to my wife about it over breakfast in the morning.
That's cool. You see, like, it makes me smile because there's something like magical about that. You know what I'm saying? It's like so random, but yet so well perfectly timed. How do you do that?
Bro, I'm not a big coincidence guy either. You know what I mean? I don't believe in coincidence. I think every little thing that happens for a reason. And we're here.
Right. I do believe everything has a purpose and a reason behind it. Like I feel even our dreams have those. Like people people dismiss it. What? Just out of curiosity, what's your take on dreams? Or have you had any strange dreams that have affected you in your life?
Yeah. I mean, some of the ones I had post combat overseas were a little rough, but I mean, at that same point, I was also on heavy amounts of opiates. Drinking too much around the same time. Had a little bit of what's the term? Sleep paralysis for a while.
Oh, exactly what that is.
Absolutely brutal.
It's scary.
It's scary as shit. Yeah, because you're laying there, you can't move. You know that something with a malicious intent is in the room with you.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt, right?
Yeah, and you kind of see like shadows of shadows.
Dude, that's exactly how it is. That's weird. You're telling me exactly what I've seen.
Bro, when I first searched it, I was like, holy shit, other people had the same experience.
Right.
But seeing some outline with like an old school, like stovepipe hat kind of thing.
Wow.
And people all over the world have had the same experience, which is just absolutely insane. So, I mean, I think the thin veneer of everyday life, everything that we see and everything that we're a part of, I think there's a lot more than that, right? That we just can't comprehend. And I think our dreams sometimes let us see that next level or that simultaneous dimension that's out there. I don't know. But I mean, we're dreaming for a reason.
Dude, I love that. We're dreaming for a reason. That's like a quote right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you should coin that shit right now and make a shirt.
Patent pending. Don't steal my stuff.
I'll tell you, that was brilliant. You know, we're dreaming for a reason. That's correct. No, you're right. You're totally 100%. Dude, my dreams literally have gotten me in a lot of trouble. Like, I've had dreams that actually come true, and I posted a lot of them online. You know, like before COVID, I had something happen. Sometimes they're not dreams. Sometimes they're just something that I just say that I just feel. Yep. And there was a friend of mine. As a matter of fact, I'm going to bring her in the podcast at some point. Her name's Joanna, and she's an actress, a comedian as well. And one night we were hanging out. I was playing drum and she was playing sitar, and then I just sat there. You know, we had just a little bit of relaxation. We're just sitting there talking, and all of a sudden I just went into a state of meditation, right? And all of a sudden I told her, I said, "There's going to be something like a plague coming." And she looked at me and she says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I just see this plague coming, and a lot of people are going to die." And she started laughing, and she goes, "No, it's nothing going to happen, this and that." When it did happen, she couldn't talk to me after that.
Oh, really? Okay.
For a long time, until after when I started talking. I called her a few times, "Hey, what's going on?" And she told me, she goes, "You know what happened that night? It really scares me because you said everything before it happened." And I said, "Yeah, I've been doing that since I was a kid."
Yep.
You know, and I don't know exactly. I think that we can tap into these places. All of us, have this potential.
Well, I mean, it's been thought that kids have that intrinsically. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Age, and then they lose that ability. I mean, you've heard. I know you've heard tons of stories about kids as early as 2, 3, 4 years old talking about a previous life that they lived.
I did it myself.
Yeah, dude, in insane detail. There's no way that this child could know that.
100%. Yeah,
I think that's all within us, but we lose it along the way somehow.
Yeah, I think once it's funny you said that, because I was contemplating that idea too with a friend and another friend, and we were talking about it, and you kind of get the feeling that once we come into this world and we start absorbing this world, it kind of erases the other one, the previous life.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it, man. That's such a good way to put it.
Really, really weird when you think about it.
Wow.
I love the fact that you could go here with me, and that's kind of
Bro, I love this stuff. My wife loves this stuff. We're big down here. We're in North Florida for everybody else.
Oh, lucky you.
Well, yeah, it's so nice, bro. I got the air conditioner on already. It's great.
Yeah.
But we do fire pits a lot in the wintertime. And the conversation always kind of gets to something like we're talking about. And it's just wonderful. Sitting in the backyard, fire going, it's really, really nice.
That's cool. That's really cool. I would love to be there. I don't know. I was thinking about moving somewhere warm, man. Since you're there, let's talk afterwards about what that area is like. And I was like, I can't, because I had see the scar here?
Yep.
I had a surgery on my spine in a car accident to reconstruct half my spine with titanium. But every time it comes winter time, I'm in the hospital in and out for pain.
Yeah, you won't have that problem here at all.
Yeah.
Plus, I got a whole gym set up. We can fix you up in here too. Because I had a spinal fusion. I had a spinal fusion on my lumbar spine.
Oh, really? So you're familiar, bro? Is that one of the reasons why you're in a warm area, a warm climate?
No, my wife didn't want to do the winters anymore. So it was like, all right, we wound up finding this house, beautiful house, from another client of mine.
Yeah.
We were thinking about moving out to California. And he's like, "Nah, come down to Florida, come down to my town, spend a week with me, and then see if you like it." We fell in love with the area. A little town called Palm Coast. Well, we have St. Augustine, 20 minutes to the north, which is like a medium-sized city. It's one of the oldest cities in the country. Daytona is 25 minutes south. Then you got Jacksonville and Orlando.
And you have a lot of beaches there, right?
Yeah, a ton of beaches. My buddy has a private beach in his backyard. We go to Daytona. There's a beach called Ormond Beach. We take our Jeep and drive on the beach. It's nice.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And the weather stays pretty good there, right?
Yeah, I mean, the summers are absolutely brutal. Like absolutely brutal, but the rest of
How hot does it get?
It's hot and humid. So like you'll be at getting highs between 92 and like 96 for basically the whole summer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's like I grew up in Houston, Texas, right? You're familiar with Houston? Mm-hmm. And our normal summers were 96 to over 100.
Yeah.
But we never went out. When it was that hot, of course, we never went out. But we had to be in the air condition at that point. And
absolutely.
But for some reason, I don't know I just feel so much healthier in the warmer weather. You know?
Yeah, because I mean, just think about it. Your body's really smart, right? You're not just sweating to cool yourself down. You're also removing all those extra toxins.
All that extra stuff that's inside, right? Yeah, 100%. That was a great point.
Yeah, when you're sick, you got the flu, or whatever, you're sweating, but it's not. It doesn't feel like sweat. It almost feels like goo. It's like a little thicker. And
yeah, you're right. You're actually right. That's interesting, actually, because that's the toxins coming out, I guess.
That's everything coming out of you, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting because you have such a I'm blown away because it's amazing how much you know now. It's like, and you probably may have already been like that before, but it's like you know a lot, about a lot of what's going on.
My thing is, some people sit up at night and they're playing with their phones and they're watching YouTube, or whatever. I'm trying my best to learn because for everybody else in the audience. I'm a personal trainer. I do mostly virtual stuff. I love staying on top of anything that I'm interested in. I'm going to stay on top of it. So fitness, like alternative thinking, like all the stuff that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And I just can't get enough of it. I legitimately can't get enough.
Yeah. So this is great. You had asked me earlier, like what if I'd done podcasts, I'd give you the name of it. Like, what was the name of it? And I told you Genosis. Did you look up Genosis and Genesis?
I know Genesis. Genosis, I don't know though.
Genosis is new, so it's a mixture of gnosis, right? So let me just let me see if I can share this with you real fast. All right.
Yep.
Let me see if I switch over to the screen. Can you see the screen here?
Let me see. Yep, you're good. You're sharing.
Okay, so hold on. Let me see. So let's look up gnosis. I just want to show you something interesting. So can you see that?
Knowledge of spiritual mysteries.
Right? It's interesting. So now watch. It's kind of like what we're kind of doing right now anyway, in some ways. Oops.
Wrong one.
And then you see this one? Yep.
Origin and mode of formation of something.
So you put those two together, man.
That's pretty slick, man. That's pretty slick. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. I know, because it's like, the more I started thinking about this stuff, it was like blowing me away. I was like, wait a second,
Yeah, absolutely, man. Very cool.
Put it back here. Yeah. So, I believe a lot in spirituality. And the reason I do is because I've experienced so many things on that level from a child up. Like I remember in school, just to give you an example, and I want to know if you can relate with this in any way. When I was I went to school in Brooklyn in Sheepshead, in PS 254 Elementary School. That's like in Sheepshead Bay. I don't know if you know Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's where I grew up as a kid, and I remember in third grade, I had Miss Kelly as my teacher. I remember her; she was really pretty and really cool. I loved her, and I remember we were doing a Spanish class or something like that, right? Or they were teaching us Spanish. And she started asking, started telling us, what's this word mean? And for some reason, I kept raising my hand, and she would say something, and I would come out with what it means. And she goes, "Oh, you speak Spanish?" I was like, "No." I said, "I've never heard it in my life." And she looked at me, and she goes, and then she's like, "Come on, tell the truth." And I'm like, "No, I'm Indian. I swear to God." I'm like, And she's like, and it happened, stuff like that would happen. I couldn't figure out how I knew these things. I was just a little kid. And I didn't hang out with any Spanish people, never watched Spanish TV. My parents didn't speak Spanish. But have you ever had incidences where you just kind of know shit? It just comes out of nowhere?
I'm sure I have, but nothing rings a bell right now. Besides that synchronicity stuff that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit of deja vu here, or knowing, just having a thought that someone's going to call and they call right then and there. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's to me, it's like that field, whatever that is that we pick up, in. I think that's the same field of that. I don't know if you want to call it intuitiveness,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you just know things at that point. There's something. Have you heard of what is it called, Star Kids or something like that? Have you heard of that?
I feel like I saw that on Discovery or
Right.
Channel.
It was on one, exactly. It was on one of those. So it was interesting. I saw it. I think it was like 10 years ago. I saw it, and when I looked at it, they were talking about these kids that could do all these amazing things. Like, these children are born with different genetics.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I kept saying, I was already an adult at this point, and 10 years ago, I was in my 40s, and I was looking at it, I'm watching it, I'm saying to myself, everything that they're saying about these kids, it was me as a child. Every single little aspect of what these kids can do. And when they did the genetic testing, they found something that was interesting. They found that all these kids had a resistance to HIV and AIDS, a natural resistance. There's a gene called RS333. Check that out.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
Pretty slick. I remember it now. I remember someone saying that they were genetically modified somehow, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's in utero or however.
Something.
But something happened to these kids.
Right. Something that changed. They're like an upgrade to the human race in some way.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because they had telepathic abilities. It's amazing. So I did my genetic testing, bro. And guess what?
Jeez, really?
I swear to God, I did my genetic testing. When I have a friend who's a genetic researcher, and I happened to have him as a friend. And I remember when he was younger, he was going through school. Now he's an actual researcher. So when I found that I had this gene called RS333, I called him. I said, "Can you take a look at this and tell me what it is?" And he says, he said, "I look at it," and he gave me a call back. He goes, "Hey, are these your genes?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Dude, you're like one of the very few % in the world that have this gene." Wow. I said, "Well, what is it?" He says, "You have full resistance to HIV and AIDS." I have full resistance to it. It's like a super gene or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what the Star Kids had.
That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. It kind of almost runs parallel to people on the spectrum. So the autism spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Some of these people are absolutely fantastic at very, very specific tasks, whether it's memory.
Yeah, that's true.
Or that kind of thing, where they lack in other places.
Mm-hmm.
So that's almost like it runs parallel to me. You know what I mean? That a lot of these.
I think you're right.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
I don't know if there have been studies on it. I don't know of whatever. I don't know if they've been, genetically tested to that level.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Could be something.
Yeah. Like, people want to say that these things are like when children have the autism and whatever the case is, like these special things that happen. Yep. The reason I call them special is, like, I think, like, what you were alluding to is they are special in some way. There's nothing wrong with them, as they want to, like what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of, to me, they're also kind of like the reason I think that they keep them to themselves is because they're so much more highly advanced in the way they think.
They're very inside themselves as well.
Right, exactly. And that's how I was as a child. I was very to myself most of the time, unless, I got questioned about something and I would answer it. I wasn't as bad as that. But I did, even up to this day, I still keep to myself a lot. And I notice that. Everybody's always asked me, why are you always by yourself? I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't like to if I can be blunt, talk bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no fluff. There's no fluff here.
Yeah. I don't do that. And it's hard. I know people want to go out and they want to hang out and they want to do things. I'm just like, if you want to go, go. It's like,
I'm the same exact way. I'd much rather sit in the backyard with my wife and do a fire than go out and party at the bar or do any of that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's and I feel that like what we were talking about earlier, where you had mentioned that when you find happiness within yourself first, it's a big part of it as well.
Yep.
You know,
I'm not going to go out and externally look for that at the bar or in some stranger's validation. I don't give a shit about that. I validate myself. You know what I mean? I matter to the one person that means something, and that's myself. It doesn't.
Dude, that's beautiful.
Opinion of me doesn't tread water at all.
Yeah, you know? That's beautiful. I'm glad that you. Let me tell you, not too many people in the world can say that today. You know.
No, people, I mean, that's the whole basis of social media is trying to get other people that you've never been in the same room with to validate your the picture of your dinner or your new car or whatever.
It's true because it's funny you said that. I don't know if I'm doing that, but I've been posting up a lot of healthy food because I eat mostly vegan stuff.
Yeah, so I've been vegan almost 8 years.
Dude, I love that. So
it's nuts. It's
synchronicity.
Yeah, bro, I'm telling you, it's wild. 8 years. I'm 6'2", I'm 220. I'm healthy as a bull. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's been good stuff, bro. It's been good stuff. We do a lot of our own cooking here. You know.
That's the most beautiful thing because that's what I started doing too. I started cooking for myself because of the whole idea of. First of all, there's a couple different ideas. For one, I like my food, that I love what I cook, and I'm afraid to eat outside because also I have this weird belief as well that the people that prepare your food, I believe in karma, like their energy can rub off into that food and come into you as well, you know? So that I believe that as well.
Yep. Absolutely. We have a big saying here. One of the reasons we went vegan in the first place is because, I mean, why does something have to suffer for me to maintain life? You know what I mean? Like, why? Got a huge saying in this house all the time. I tell all my clients all the time, it's do no harm, but take no shit.
Yeah.
It really is the simplest thing, you know?
You know why this doesn't surprise me, bro? You know why it's not a shock to me? Because when we first met, how you dealt with people, I saw that inside of you when you were going through the hardest times, the most difficult time people could go through in their life, or, you know, that you went through in your life, really. And you were still making people happy. You still didn't allow it to affect people in a bad way. That told me so much, because I'm the same way. I'm the same way. You know?
Absolutely. Liz, you got a choice every morning you wake up. You could either find something, you can look for something positive or look for something negative. Whatever you're looking for, you're going to find it. So start your day with a little bit of positivity.
Yeah,
and then maybe that day you help somebody out that you don't even know about. Someone's having a real tough time. You get to make them stop and smell the roses. You get them to, you know, just stop and see a bird in the tree or something.
Yeah. You want something funny?
Always.
Not funny, but not a joke, but something interesting, bro. This is weird because just tell me first, how did you come to the acknowledgement, to the realization of what you told me about why you won't, you know, eat a certain way?
Because it's just, it should be common sense, at least in my eyes, right? It should be common sense to people. Something doesn't have to die for you to maintain life. It's just, I mean, especially now, there's analogs for everything. If you want, you know, you can get your Impossible Burger, you can do your Beyond Burger. Right. But there's no need for, I've caused enough harm in my life to people, to everything. I don't need something that used to be alive on my plate.
Wow.
I don't. You know, even if it's a humane way to put the animal down, it's all bullshit. This thing doesn't want to die. I mean, a chicken lives 10% of its natural life in terrible conditions. Just because it's free range doesn't mean it's happy that you're coming to chop its head off. You know, and that could transfer through the meat. You know, the stress that these animals feel when they're going down the line to get the bolt in their head, that they're stressed out. They're not, you know, they're pumped full of hormones. They got stress. I don't need that. I don't need that on my plate.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that and said it the way that you did because it's interesting. You know why I asked that question? My realization of that, like how you want to hear how that came to me? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. When I was 24 years old, I started working out really hard, right? And it was more like aerobics and calisthenics and stuff like that, and started doing like this routine. I got down to 140 pounds, right?
Jeez.
That's about 600 pounds less than what I am now.
Yes.
So I, I started about 2 months into it. I got down to about that weight. I was eating at least one meal a day though, you know,
Okay.
and that between that and the crazy workouts that I did, and I started implementing yoga practice from what I learned when I was 9, and that stuck with me all my life. And I kept doing stuff till I got to the point, bro, where I could do anything. There was nothing physically that I could not do. I was doing all that aerial shit you do when you push your arms up, you're not even using your legs are off the ground.
Plyometrics, yeah.
I was doing all that shit. And I got to the point where I got bored. I was like, what do I do next? I can do everything, you know? So then I started looking through, just out of the blue, I don't know, I saw my grandfather's drum. It's an ancient Indian drum. And I looked at it. I said, let me go take a look at it. I haven't seen that, it's his. He's long gone now. So I went and I got it. And he had this other stuff next to it and these books. And there was this old Indian pamphlet. Thank God it was like kind of like also in English and in Sanskrit, which is the ancient language. So I took it down and started looking through it, and I said, this is interesting. So I started reading it, and that's how I learned the Gayatri Mantra. If you ever heard the Gayatri Mantra.
I don't think so.
I'll tell it to you in a minute because you're going to like it. It's a good vibration. So it said that, I was so intrigued that it said that if you can sit still in the lotus position or just comfortably with your back, completely erect and straight, and just go into deep breathing, get into a state of meditation, and then start repeating the mantra, that the mantra gives all this benefit spiritually and will help you in your entire life. And, they said also if you keep your mouth quiet and you do it in your mind, it's 1,000 times more powerful. So I memorized the mantra, right? And I think this was in 1994. I was in the Bronx at the time, up by the Yankee Stadium is where I lived.
Yeah.
Because over there is really loud all the time.
No,
it was just like constantly like, an action movie going on all over the place. But I remember, so this was like about 2, 3 in the morning. It was really late. And I think that night, for some reason, it was quiet. So I was really happy. So I remember I kind of like turned the lights off. I sat there cross-legged after I did my workout. And I said, let me try this out. Let me try it and see what happens, right? So I started doing it. And I remember just sitting there and saying it out loud. I'll say it now so you can hear it. So I said, Om Bhu Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. So I kept repeating this over and over and over. And at some point, I remembered, close your mouth and do it in your mind. But I don't know how long I had been doing it verbally. But when I did close my mouth and start doing it in my mind, the strangest thing happened. I could hear my voice as if I was talking loud, like saying it out loud. And I had to check. I literally had to check and say, am I using my mouth? What's going on? Why am I hearing myself? So apparently, I must have gone into a pretty deep state of meditation, and when I stopped doing it verbally, went deeper. So I just kept repeating it. I said, I could hear myself loudly saying it. Let me keep repeating it that way. Next thing you know, I found myself in this forest-like area. I see a woman that's standing there. She's kind of barely clothed with hardly any clothes. And there's a guy, kind of looks the same, barely clothed with hardly any clothes. And he walks up to her and he's like bringing all this food, like in his hands. Like, I don't know exactly what it was that he was bringing to. I think it was like fruits and vegetables, maybe like that. And he kind of walked up and he's holding it to her. And she's like, he goes, look, I've got you food to eat. And she went whack, knocked the stuff out of his hands. Right. And when she did that, he's like, why did you do that? I brought you food to eat. And she goes, I don't want that to eat. Then he looked at her, he goes, well, what do you want to eat? And then she turned around and looked in my direction. She goes, I want that to eat. And I turned around and looked behind me to see. I was like, what's she talking about? I turned around and looked behind. When I turned back around, I see this big piece with a club coming down to hit me. And then, you want to hear the last thought that went through my head?
Oh.
That's what it sounded like. No. Last thought that went through my head was, I can't believe you're going to kill me just because you're hungry.
Wow.
Last thought that went through my head. Just think about that. And now I'm going to give you a question. If you listen to the story correctly, you'll take a good guess here.
Yep.
What do you think the one meal a day was that I was eating? Use your psychic ability.
I mean,
what's
up?
First thing that comes to your mind.
The first thing I'm thinking is fruits. But logical me is like, there's no way you can't sustain working out the way you're working out on just fruits. So it's got to be some kind of protein, some kind of chicken or beef or something.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. So the first one, he said the chicken. I was having a chicken sandwich every day. All right, one chicken sandwich every day. So you were correct on the chicken sandwich, on the chicken. So it's, you know, the weird part about it, I feel that experience, it gets even deeper than this. Okay, I did at that point in 1994. I thought that was an interesting dream. I said how weird, but it affected me so deeply that I didn't want to eat meat after that. I was contemplating every time I went to eat meat. I was like, God, you know, because I remembered the last thought that I had is, I can't believe you're going to kill me just because you're hungry.
Because you're hungry, yeah.
Absolutely. You know, just that thought just emanated and vibrated inside, resonated in my mind.
Yep.
So strongly, you know?
Yeah.
So, you want to hear how weird this gets?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going down the rabbit hole.
Okay, so I ended up going to an ashram in 1998 and staying there, and they had a book. It was called Living with the Himalayan Masters, about Swami Rama. Okay. Right? When I went there, I started reading it, and it was a very thick book, like 1,000 pages. I don't know how far, I got pretty far into this book, and it was about his life and travels with you know, in the Himalayan mountains with all these gurus. And he got to a point where he was traveling on this path in the Himalayas with his guru, and he was a young man in his 20s, kind of like around my age when I had that incident happen, that whatever that was, you know, that dream, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I want to say astral projecting there, you know what I mean? Because it seems like you were in a different place altogether.
Exactly. So keep that thought here, and you're going to love this. I started reading the book, and his guru said that, do not do this mantra yet. You're not ready for it. He's telling Swami Rama this. So he goes into the tent. Swami Rama goes outside. Guess what he does?
Does it immediately.
Exactly what he said, told him not to do. So he starts doing the mantra, and I swear, I'm telling you this now, and it's giving me chills like it did when I read it, because I remember reading it and saying to myself, "Holy shit, I wasn't fucking dreaming." Excuse my language. Like, I was not dreaming, because it said that he found himself in a forest. There was a giant naked lady and a giant naked, word for word, everything that I told you was in that book 4 years later that he did 40 or 50 years ago or more. Right.
That's wild, yeah.
Do you know what I got out of that? The reason, because he says it in the book, the reason that happened is because that mantra is a high vibration, right? It's beyond violence. He became the violence.
Oh, wow.
Because he was eating one meal at the time a day. You know what his one meal was?
I'm assuming it's chicken.
Exactly. It was chicken. That's what he was eating. And when I read that to myself, I said, how could this happen 4 years later? And he has that means, what that told me also is that I went somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I went somewhere that somebody else went, and he wrote about it, and he left a breadcrumb for me to say, yeah, you did go somewhere.
That's wild. That's wild. That's got to be a real eye-opening thing.
100%. But it's so weird how you and your wife both didn't have to do that.
No.
You guys just figured it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, my wife was born on the west coast of Mexico.
Yeah.
Grew up like everybody else, eating everything, beef, pork, whatever. She watched the documentary, and then that was it for her. She was like, I'm done. I'm not doing it.
It just came into your mind. It was just like that in your heart.
She just flipped the switch just like that. One day she was eating everything, and the next day it was completely vegan. And I was breaking her chops a little bit. I was like, there's no way you're going to do this, blah, 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 blah. Nope, she stuck with it. That was July 24th of 2017.
Wow, that was around the time we met.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I was still in the house, she was doing a lot of my meal preps. And I was going through anywhere from 14 to 16 pounds of meat every single week.
Wow. Yeah, as I remember, you were huge, bro.
I was big. Yeah, I was big.
Yeah.
And I get home one day and she's preparing my chicken, right? She's preparing my chicken. We had this big wok and she's doing the chicken thing.
Yeah.
And she looks over at me and she's crying. She's trying to like tough it out, but she's crying preparing this because she's not eating this. This is just for me. And that's when I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
We're completely vegan. And we have been ever since. And dude, I'm telling you, I'll be 43 in a couple of weeks here. I feel great.
You look great. Yeah.
Sustained energy levels, you know what I mean? We don't do a lot of the processed garbage. We make a lot of the meat here, TVC and seitan and like that kind of stuff. So it's good.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's totally awesome. You know, I want to make a proposition to you here. I have a group that I'm setting up for Genosis. They're two good friends of mine as well, but they're both actually they're both actors, but one is what we would call like a Hollywood child actor from back in the 80s.
Okay.
And the other one is an actor who's done a lot of stuff in the 90s. And there's another one is an actor as well, and he's now a younger guy. I think he's probably close to 30, maybe 29 or something, and he's doing acting now. So it's interesting. I don't know why there's so many actors, but it's a group of actors, including myself. I was a performer as well. Yep. Definitely, you were a performer because even though you weren't on stage.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you were just naturally talented, and you just like to make people laugh. So that, to me, that's considered the same thing. You know, yep. But I'm doing that podcast, bro, and if you can make that, I would love to, because your mind is expansive. It's exactly where I'm at, and I feel like
let me know when you want to try it up.
Yeah, I think you would be a great fit for this because we're similar in consciousness, and that's what I was looking for.
Okay, cool. I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk. Like, I have some questions, if you would allow me to ask you.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. Let me just check something. Okay, we're good time wise here. Let me just open the document that I have it on. All right.
Yep.
Let me put it here. I ask everybody these interesting questions. So, hold on. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so here's the first question, okay?
Yep.
Do you think we're living in a simulation? It's like or it's more like a. You don't think we're living in a simulation?
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. I mean, there's too many. A big part of me does. A big part of me does.
Okay. Is there any basis that you have? Is there anything that makes you believe it?
I mean, you just look out at any news broadcast. Doesn't matter if it's left leaning or right leaning or whatever. Yeah. The whole world is falling apart right now. You know
I see that. Yeah.
And it's just it's the only time in my life where that actually makes sense. That maybe part of me is here, but maybe it's just my consciousness that's here. That's making the illusion of my arms moving around. I don't know, but I'm more open to thinking like that now than I was 20 years ago.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. And it makes sense with the way your mind works anyway now. I mean, you've had this interesting journey that you've taken, and you've had a very in-depth going inward reflection. And so that would make you a little bit more aware and, in tune with things. Just to throw in something here, something I contemplate a lot is this idea, right? And I think about the idea of consciousness itself as well. And the reason sometimes I think it's really similar to a simulation is that even if you look at any different religion, when they talk about what they're fighting, what are they fighting? They all have the same thing. They're all fighting the senses, the human body, the flesh. In every Bible, in every book, every religion, beware of the flesh. The flesh is really a neurotransmitter style of sensing, because we're not really feeling with our fingers. We're actually getting it processed into the part of our brain. It's like a neurochemical transmission.
This is what the sensation is supposed to be like.
Right, exactly. Yep. So literally, everything we experience is inside. We're thinking it's external. That alone makes it a simulation. That whole idea.
I've never heard it put like that. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
So it's just a weird concept, and I think about, like, let's have some really cool videos and stuff when we, hopefully, God willing, everything works out and you want to be in it. I have cool videos I'll put up and we'll look at it all together and be like, what did you think about that?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah, so I think that would be cool. So here's another one that I'm really interested in. Okay, the ancient gods that they spoke about in the past, right? Do you think that those ancient gods could have been intelligent life from other planets? The ones that they said had all these abilities from all over the world?
I think so. Just because of
Yeah.
the level of intellect back then, you saw something. Your primitive human mind had to be like, oh, this is what we now know as a ship or as something that can self-propel itself. But we're going to say this is some type of deity because that's how I can simplify it.
Yeah.
It shows with the ancient Greeks and Romans, right? They didn't know what the sun was crossing the sky, so of course that's a fire chariot, and that's how they simplified that. So what's
exactly
simplifying everything else? Yeah,
exactly. And I love the fact that you put it that way, because a lot of people don't realize that the way people describe things back then, they didn't have technology maybe in the way that we did. But when they saw it, if they saw something flying, look, it was a metal bird. Mm-hmm. So, and just think about that. It's like a metal bird. Of course, that makes sense, to them.
Yeah, of course, because that's the only thing they had to compare it to.
Yeah, definitely. Let me show you a clip of something really fast that's going to blow your mind. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
So they made a discovery recently, bro, and they found something.
Are you talking about the thing underneath the pyramids?
Yes.
Pretty
Did you
sick,
see it? Did you see it?
Yeah. Okay, so it goes down about 2 kilometers.
It goes down. I heard it was They said that, I think it was like 9 pillars or something like that, 9 or 11 pillars.
With some kind of it almost looked like a
coil going down.
Coils there.
Yeah, like a bunch of coils, and then on the bottom of it looks like they have these giant structures.
Giant blocks. Yep.
Blocks. Right. So you know about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
What? Okay.
Because it's interesting to me.
It's extremely interesting. Yeah.
You take a look at these pyramids and you're like, that's weird. They're set up like specific constellations. You got a matching one in Egypt and South America, set up the same exact way, equidistant from each other, set up exactly like some constellation. It escapes me now. But why is that? Why is that? 2 cultures that had no interaction with each other. They're not boating across the Pacific here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how did they figure this out? Some kind of knowledge from somewhere else. Yeah.
The pyramids alone, they still can't figure out how they did it. People have come up with many different theories. A lot of real hardcore scientists, theoretical physicists, engineers, and they still can't figure out how it was done so perfect.
Yeah.
What about the structures below?
They try to replicate a lot of that stuff with modern technology and modern equipment.
Yeah.
And they can't do it. I mean, it's incredibly precise. I'm talking down to 1/10 of an inch.
That's right.
And you're telling me that a bunch of people without tools, basically, created this on their own without any type of help? No, I'm calling bullshit on that one.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I'm glad I had a feeling that you would know about this because the way your mind works. And what do you think that gigantic? Well, speaking about, you're saying it was hard to figure out the pyramids on top. Imagine how hard it must have been for them to build whatever they built down there. I don't think the humans built that.
I don't think it either, man. I don't think it either.
Yeah.
Unless they had some kind of help. Because listen, this thing, different reports say different things. I've heard 600 meters. I've heard up to 2 kilometers.
I've heard 600 meters as well. Yeah.
We can't even dig 2 kilometers down now.
Yeah. We can't.
The ones that the Russians were doing somewhere in Siberia.
Yeah.
That got down quite a bit also, but that's with modern drill bits.
But that's just the hole. That's just the hole.
That's just the hole. Yeah. That's just the hole.
To clear out an entire structure down there. And the size of a city. They're saying that the structures could be the size of a city, like an underground city.
Yeah, it could be. And it could be one of the lost civilizations.
Yeah. So does this not make you excited in some way?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you and I both know that whoever is in control is going to try to suppress it.
Of course.
Because that it goes against the narrative, right? It could potentially change every religion. It could potentially change everything, our whole way of life.
Yeah, no, right. I agree with that actually, and it's like, you know what it almost feels like too. It's like, before, when you had people that tried to challenge the established, idea of physics in the past, like classical physics to Newtonian physics to modern day physics, right? Quantum physics. And even when, I think, who was it? Copernicus, was it? Or was it Copernicus or Galileo that said that the Earth spins around the sun. It's not the sun spinning around the Earth.
Yeah. Yep. And he was ostracized.
Right, he was right. So I feel like, if thank God we have social media in a sense, even though I don't agree with everything. But the fact that so many people can come on and kind of challenge the establishment.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
The one thing it did well was it gave everybody a voice. Now that's a double-edged sword, because now you got all these other maniacs spouting whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, it does allow this like alternative kind of thinking a place. It's awesome.
Yeah. This is cool, man. Yeah. So we definitely, this is good, man. This is good. So because you go there, and I like that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, no problem. Saying exactly.
No, but this is, some people can't even comprehend these thoughts. So it's when you get somebody that can actually comprehend it.
Because regular society gets drilled. This is how it is because this is how we say it is. And they're like, all right, cool. I'm a good soldier. I'm gonna believe that. I'm gonna believe in whatever I believe in. There's no room for anything else.
Yeah.
And you fucking open your eyes, man. Just wake up. The information is out there. You just gotta go get it.
Yeah. No, 100%, bro. 100%. Let me see. I have a couple other questions, if it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that cool? Because I like your answers, actually. So, okay. Here's something on a slightly different note. Okay. It's on a spiritual level, actually. What does the role of forgiveness play in life, and do you have an example in your own life?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go down the rabbit hole here also. The only person I would ever apologize to is myself. For all the shit I put myself through, and trying to forgive that past version of myself has been really, really tough.
Yeah.
Like really, really tough, because that's the only opinion that matters to me. I don't give a shit when anybody on the planet thinks about me besides my wife and myself. But forgiving the person that chose to join the military and do all that stuff and go to another country and fight, and then just treat myself like shit for 10 years when I came home. That's tough. That's time I'm not going to get back, So trying to let go of that past self and learn as much as I could from myself has really taken me a long way. And it all started with being able to forgive.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
So that's it's interesting. You didn't give me like a fake answer. You didn't give me like a textbook, anything, or quote any scripture. You're like, no, this. It's like,
I don't need, because it comes from everything comes from within. It should come.
Yeah.
It's great to gain some information from scripture and from your friends, but like everything has to come from inside yourself. There's no
100%.
There's no bullshit here. There's no, like I said before, there's no fluff. I've been living my most genuine existence I can, and life has been good.
Yeah.
Toxic people, cut out. Doesn't matter if you're friends, family, whatever. You're gone.
Right.
I don't need, because that energy, just like you said before, that energy could bleed out of them and onto me, and I've got it too good to deal with any of that nonsense.
I'm glad you see that. It's like I see. It's funny. Recently, I've seen a very, almost not just recently, but all through my life, I've seen the examples. I try to tell people what they're doing is dangerous to themselves and others, and I realize that you can't. There's no way you can convince them. They have to figure it out on their own. It's just one of those things that they have to do. There's nothing we can do. You can't beat it into them. You can't. There's nothing you can do. You know,
you can't outsource someone's freedom. You know what I mean? That has to come from within. You got
within, right?
Yep, exactly. You can't. It's an old lead a horse to water thing. You know what I mean? They got to figure it out on their own.
Okay, and along the same trajectory is another interesting question. What is real compassion, and have you experienced it in your life?
Yeah, no, every day. Like with everything from the diet to how it's not even a diet. It's like if I wanted to, I can go out and do whatever I want to do. If I can go get that chicken.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't have any need for that. You know. So compassionate eating, compassionate thinking, trying to be empathetic with people. I deal with a ton of clients from all over the world. I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. I'm trying to figure out what their why is without asking them, like why they're trying to get in better shape, why they're trying to move better. If it's for them, or for it's an external reason, like they want to be more attractive to their partner, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I try to put myself in their shoes, and I don't see it being more compassionate than that, you know?
Yeah, I like that. I do like that. And it's like empathizing in a sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to me, it's the highest form of empathy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Figure out why someone else is doing what they're doing.
That's it. That's so interesting, bro. You really put empathy and compassion are very, very similar, and they're kind of like walk hand in hand together. Mm-hmm. You know, so I love that explanation. You know, so I'm gonna end the podcast in a few minutes, but I want to say that first of all, I want to thank you. After all the time, you know, from the very beginning, you were great. To seeing your evolution,
it feels like it's been like we were hanging out last week. You know what I
mean? Yeah. It feels like
even though it's been years and years and years, it feels like we were just hanging out the other day.
Yeah, like I bonded with you right away, bro. I remember, like I said, I just bonded with you I just, you know, every time I saw you and I saw how you treated people, and I said, man, you know, it's just exactly how I feel, how I do things as well. And I said, that's why I said I always wanted to keep in contact with you. I just knew also I had this feeling that not only because of your wife, but deep down inside your heart, and she helped to bring that out, that you had this in you because it was showing in your actions and your speech and everything. You know,
she saw it before I even saw it in myself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course.
At the worst part of my life, and she still saw something there that brought her back to me, you know? And
that's beautiful. That's totally beautiful.
We'll be married 7 years in a couple of months, which is just mind-blowing to me, you know?
Let me tell you, that's a blessing from God right there. And, you know, I wish that, and I pray to God that you guys have the best of health and the best of everything and stay together, you know?
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Right back to you.
Yeah, man. I'm single again, so I got to go out looking. I'm joking. I divorced back in what was it, 2016, 2017, around the time I started working at that place.
Everything for a reason, bro.
But you know, it's good. Like I said, hearing your story gives me hope. You know, and you know, it's like you're inspiring, bro. I think that when people see this, you know, I know that people are going to relate and be inspired by you. You know what I mean? I just know that. Do you have like a website or something that you want people to know about, or anything that you do, a blog?
I'm actually starting my own business right now. I bought the domain, but it's not up yet. It's going to be pabonfitness.com. All virtual. It's going to be all virtual training with options for meal preps. There's going to be a blog on there. It's basically my no bullshit fitness kind of thing.
Like, did you say you need bullshit fitness kind of thing?
No bullshit fitness. Social media is where fitness goes to die. You see people doing dumb shit there all the time, and it really is. It's going to be great. It's going to be. Is it
PabonFitness.com?
PabonFitness.com. Yeah, like I said, I bought the domain already.
Is that it right there?
Yep, that's going to be it right there.
Okay, so guys, that's going to be his thing, and you do online too as well, or is
it's all virtual training. I have a couple of in-person clients in my little town here, but it's all virtual. And I've already run well over 18,000 virtual sessions. So I mean,
wow.
I don't use AI. I use 10 years of
real training, right? And you have so much experience in life of coming from these places, and being able to, work yourself through that. So I'm sure that mentality thing is going to help, or is helping.
Absolutely. And you know what? Like we were talking before, we're talking a lot about negativity bleeding over from somebody else, from some kind of toxic person. Yeah. Guess what, man? It goes both ways. Positivity bleeds over also. So a lot of my they're not even clients. They're friends of mine. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's been really good. It's been great.
That's awesome, man. That's totally awesome. Look, I do hope to be able to get out to Florida at some point too. So, if you have time after the podcast, hit me up on a call and let's talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like we're right between Jacksonville and Orlando.
That would be something. That would be something I definitely, like I said, I got to get into a warm climate and be around good people as well. Yeah. So that like-minded, then we can go find some trees to cut down and eat. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I'm actually changing our lawn. We're changing our lawn. A regular lawn is terrible for the environment. So we're going to be putting. It's horrible. It's a waste of resources. I mean, you do it because your neighbor does it. It's all bullshit. Okay. So we're going to be doing a lawn called Red Creeping Thyme. It's going to be a red front lawn that's mosquito repellent. Takes minimal water.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't need to be mowed, and we're gonna have the red lawn on the block and be the weirdos.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So you're doing some unique stuff here.
Yeah. I mean, there's a giant sculpture in the front of my house that my wife put together with storm.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'll send you a couple of pictures.
Yeah. I'd love to check it out, bro. It's awesome. So let's definitely end this one session here. I'm gonna call you after if you have time. Is that okay?
Yeah, good deal.
Okay, cool. And Chris, I pray that we can do this again. And like I said, I'm so happy to have you back in my life again and to see you thriving. That makes me feel great. And let's keep this blessing moving forward, this good energy, and let's build it.
Absolutely. Same. That was a lot of fun, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. It was deep, and it's a good way for us to reconnect as well, on a very positive note.
And it's shocking. We're even more similar than I thought, huh?
It's good, but I felt it out back in the day, and I knew it. That's why I said my instincts were correct. I didn't let go, and I said, "I'm gonna keep in touch. This guy's going somewhere." So this is good. Yeah. This is great. But let me say, this is Genosis, right? Gnenos. It has a different spellings, Gnosis and Genesis together. So you'll be seeing it first on TSPRavshiva, my first channel. I'll be putting clips of it on there. And if you see it, I really want you guys, let me just put this on the screen as well. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
So people can actually see the name of it, hang tight, right?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, cool. So let me put this here so you guys can see it. So the name of the channel is going to be Genosis, and that's the new channel. This stuff is going to go on, and hopefully we'll be doing like a roundtable podcast. You guys already saw, if you watch my channel, you'll see that an actor, Eduardo Miranda, he was on there. I'm going to be putting up Augustine Rodriguez. And later tonight at 8 p.m., if you guys are going to check out, well, this won't be live, it'll be recorded. But later tonight, I'm recording another interview with Eddie Castrodad. He was in the show Dads. He was one of the kids. He was with in a movie that he started with Mila Jovovich, who does all the series of, what was that called? Resident Evil series, the girl that plays in that, the actress. So he starred with her in a movie a long time ago, and they were both children. And this guy is a great guy, He's got his own spiritual beliefs, his own opinions, and things like that. But we have very in-depth conversations. I think you're going to appreciate him too, Chris. Yeah. So, guys, check it out when it comes out. There'll be clips on the TSPRavshiva, and then Genosis will have the entire, this entire broadcast. So definitely tune in. So thanks a lot, guys. Let's thank Chris. Chris, you want to say something?
Thanks, everybody. No, I don't have much to say. Just stay grateful. There's something to be grateful for every single day. So find the positive, everybody.
I love that shirt, bro. Is that yours? Did you create that?
I drew it on the fridge one day because we have a.
And you created that shirt?
My wife did for my birthday last year.
Dude, are you selling it?
I think she might have it on her. No, she doesn't have it on her Etsy store, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah, let's talk after. That's totally awesome, bro.
It's pretty slick, bro. It's pretty slick.
All right, guys. See you in the next video. Thanks again. Talk to you in a minute, Chris.
Later, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.